Welcome to MojoPlays, and today we're counting down our picks for the greatest games released on the Nintendo GameCube.
Before we begin, we publish new content all week long, so be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos.
Custom Robo. While not the first entry in the Custom Robo series, this title is the first to be released outside of Japan. And it's a shame because this is an often overlooked gem. An action RPG, Custom Robo lives up to its title and allows players to customize various robos to duke it out in holographic matches. The combat is deceptively simple and extremely fun, whether you're going through the story mode or battling against friends. The sheer variety and individualization involved help make Custom Robo a game that will never get old. Metal Gear Solid: The Twin Snakes. While traditionally found on PlayStation consoles, Metal Gear games also have a history on Nintendo systems. Metal Gear Solid: The Twin Snakes is a remake of the first Metal Gear Solid game, and sure, it has all the stealth action gameplay, insane bosses, and even crazier storyline of the original. However, it also has improved graphics, as well as voice acting that's been translated much better than its PlayStation predecessor. There are also some tweaks to the original gameplay, such as the ability to transition to first-person view, that help make the Twin Snakes a fresh experience.
I understand, but why Metal Gear? The nuclear age ended with the turn of the millennium.
Resident Evil Zero.
Listen, little girl, if you haven't noticed, there's some pretty freaked out things on this train. And I, for one, want to get out of here.
A prequel to the first Resident Evil game, Resident Evil Zero sees player take control of multiple characters to investigate a spooky abandoned Umbrella Corporation facility. The gameplay is like most of the earlier titles in the series, though it does make some nice changes to the inventory system and allows you to freely switch between two characters for the first time, making for some inventive puzzles. While it's not the best Resident Evil game even on the GameCube, more on that one later, Resident Evil Zero is still worthy of its inclusion in the franchise and in any GameCube owner's collection.
What?
It's the Queen!
The self-destruct system has been activated.
ChibiRobo Plug into Adventure. 3D platformers weren't quite as big on the GameCube as on the N64, but there are still a few to be found on the console. This underrated game follows the tiny titular robot as it assists its family and household tasks that are simple for humans, but big work for it, given its small size. The game's adorable premise, fun gameplay, and inventive sound design are all reason enough to give this cult favorite a look. It may have a small following outside of Japan, but being little has never stopped ChibiRobo. Skies of Arcadia Legends. Since airships are often the best parts of JRPGs, why not build a whole game around them? An enhanced port of the Sega Dreamcast Skies of Arcadia, Legends delivers classic RPG turn-based combat both with individual characters and with flying ships. It has a colorful cast of fun characters, a rousing soundtrack, and so much to explore. In addition to everything present in the original game, Skies of Arcadia Legends features improved graphics, new features, and content previously only available via DLC. It's arguably the best way to experience the game, and it positively soars.
Here goes!
Kaido's Eternal Wings and the Lost Ocean. Before Monolith Soft made Xenoblade Chronicles, the developer also released this underrated RPG for the GameCube. It's a sprawling traditional RPG, albeit with combat that feels positively modern, given the recent rise of card battlers, and its emphasis on magical cards. While it wasn't a major success at the time, it did get a prequel, Kaido's Origins, which is also quite good. It may have languished in obscurity on the GameCube, but there's remasters of both games available on Nintendo Switch and Steam, so there's really no excuse not to check them out these days.
There!
Wario World. Before Wario became Nintendo's poster boy for party games, Mario's greedy counterpart had a ton of platformers. His first, and so far only 3D game, is Wario World. To reclaim his lost treasure, Wario sets out to beat up everyone who stands between him and his goal. Mostly some derpy dinosaurs, it's great. Short but sweet, this game has some fun combat that sees Wario toss, punch, or spin enemies around, making it reminiscent of a 3D beat-em-up, but with platforming and puzzles. It's a relatively small world, but Wario World is rich in more than just gold. Beautiful Joe. While not a GameCube exclusive, Beautiful Joe feels right at home on the Nintendo console. There are plenty of side-scrolling beat-em-ups out there, but Beautiful Joe has a truly unique take on the genre. The game sees the titular character brought into the world of a film to become a superhero and rescue his girlfriend. In addition to its wacky premise and incredible art style, Beautiful Joe also has some amazingly creative gameplay mechanics. Each of Joe's VFX powers imitate movie conventions like slow-mo and zoom-ins. Bottom line, you should henshin a go-go, play this game as soon as you can, baby. Tales of Symphonia.
Demon Fang! Demon Fang!
The Tales games aren't quite household names, but they've got a dedicated following for good reason. Although the actual tale being told in Tales of Symphonia isn't the most original in an RPG, it more than makes up for any lack of novelty there in other areas.
Is that an X-Sphere?
The characters are fantastic, wonderfully developed, and they have excellent dialogue. The battle system also offers a surprising amount of depth, being both fast-paced and customizable. If you haven't given the Tales series a look, Symphonia isn't a bad place to start.
Help is on the way. Healing circle.
Pokemon Colosseum. The Pokemon series struggled with making the transition to 3D, but this fairly early attempt is excellent. Pokemon Colosseum features a darker storyline and more challenging combat than mainline entries in the series, as well as the ability to steal enemy trainers' Pokemon instead of capturing them in the wild. The game introduces darker Pokemon variants called Shadow Pokemon, has an emphasis on double battles, and features several multiplayer modes. Colosseum proved successful enough to get a sequel, Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness, which is also great, I might add. Although the series hasn't gone back to this style of spin-off for many years, Pokemon Colosseum is worth adding to any Pokemon fan's collection. Star Fox Assault.
The Cornerian fleet is broken through our front lines. They're everywhere.
Think you're tough, eh? In that case, it's secret weapon time!
One problem with Star Fox Adventures was that it behaved more like a Zelda game than a real Star Fox game. Luckily, we got to see a new form of the Star Fox team, one that put the crew in a more action-packed setting. Veterans appreciated the return to dogfights, but what really showed the franchise's potential was how you could go from aerial combat to on-foot third-person shooting in ships and bases. And it was all presented in excellent visuals that still hold up to this very day. Why Nintendo did not continue taking Star Fox in this direction, we'll never know. And we wait for the day Corneria needs Fox once again.
Whoa, we got company. Fox, grab that thing and get out of there.
Donkey Kong Jungle Beat. As one of the few games to utilize Nintendo's plastic bongo controller, Jungle Beat took the big gorilla on a somewhat musical adventure. Beat, clap, and punch your way through the jungle and face off against mighty adversaries like Karate Kong and Cactus King. Even with its simple control scheme, Jungle Beat was a wondrous experience, with its beautiful level design and frenetic energy. Our only gripe with the game was that the party lasted only a few hours. That, and the sound of hands beating on plastic wasn't too pleasant for our parents. Star Wars Rogue Squadron II Rogue Leader.
Take evasive action. Green group, stick close to holding sector MB7.
Admiral, we have enemy ships in Sector 27!
Honestly, it's somewhat befuddling that Rogue Squadron 2 never made its way to other platforms, and yet it really shows how many exceptional games premiered on the GameCube. Rogue Squadron 2 Rogue Leader was more of the same we had experienced from its predecessor on PC and N64. Now, that isn't necessarily a bad thing though. Not only did Rogue Squadron 2 boast far more exceptional visuals than the first game, it also featured fantastic sound design, creating one of the most immersive Star Wars games at the time. It's only a shame that the third Rogue Squadron game, Rebel Strike, could not live up to the expectations set here. Still, we'd love to get all three games make their way to modern platforms. Sonic Adventure 2 Battle.
But how did he manage to harness all that energy?
It's got to be the Chaos Emeralds.
Even though Sonic Adventure 2 originally debuted on the ill-fated Sega Dreamcast, the GameCube version was the best version to play, and for good reason. In addition to improved textures and character models, players were also given more options for multiplayer. Of course, the real star of this version was the expanded Chow Garden, which incorporated the ability to transfer chows between Adventure 2 Battle and the Sonic Advance GBA games. Plus, who could forget Chow Karate? Even with its secretly sadistic concept, that mode was downright dope. And we got to enjoy all of this with no sign of Big the Cat.
You little thieves. Did you really think
Come and get some, Eggman.
Sonic!
Just leave it to me.
Super Monkey Ball.
Ready?
There's just something about rolling giant balls through obstacle courses that make games like Super Monkey Ball so much fun. Though in this case, Super Monkey Ball will always be the king of said domain. Each course presented its own unique set of challenges to test your speed and reflexes, as you guided your cute chimps to the goal. The short stages and Arcadia experience made it easy to compete against friends or tackle a whole run together. And if for some reason you were worn out from obstacle courses, you could all compete in various minigames like Monkey Billiards, Monkey Bowling, and Monkey Fight. Eternal Darkness, Sanity's Requiem.
Can we get this over with, please?
Of course. This way. But I must warn you, it's not a pleasant sight.
It has been forever known as the GameCube's forgotten horror title. Eternal Darkness was a victim of circumstance, having been overshadowed by the system's more family-friendly games, as well as Capcom's HD remake of Resident Evil. The few who actually got to experience this title were treated to a terrifying journey that offered up unique ways to break the fourth wall. With its sanity mechanic, players could potentially find themselves suffering from adjustments to their television, making it much harder to ward off enemies. If you ask us, this game has been long overdue for a remake, and if we were to come back, we need it on every single platform available.
You are a fool for trying to save him, Anthony.
Fire Emblem Path of Radiance.
Well, Ike, you had enough?
Back when Path of Radiance first launched, there weren't too many folks familiar with Fire Emblem. How shameful us Westerners were to ignore a gem like this one, I know. As if we weren't already spoiled enough by a fantastic story, Path of Radiance offered up a large roster of characters to recruit, a whopping total of 46. Really, that's about it in terms of new features, and it's all we could have asked for, honestly. More of that challenging and tactical gameplay where permadeath could prove to be an unforgiving punishment. Soulcalibur II.
I'm through with words.
Battle 1. Fight!
Now, we know that we said we would be prioritizing exclusives for this list, but we really must make an exception for Soulcalibur II here. You see, this wasn't just a fantastic fighting game with great controls and visuals. This game actually had the honor of being one of the few times we got to see a Nintendo character in a non-Nintendo game. Whereas Xbox and PS2 users got Todd McFarlane's Spawn and Heihachi Mishima from Tekken, respectively, GameCube owners got to play as Link. That's right, Link was actually a playable character in a fighting game that wasn't Smash Bros. It's awesome. It was an absurd idea we never thought would actually happen, and between the three guest characters, he was honestly the most fun to play. Anyway, Soulcalibur 2 was simply awesome. Kirby Airride. While it certainly had its fair share of problems in terms of controls and content, Kirby Airride excelled in its own unique way. This wasn't just Kirby's version of another Nintendo racing franchise. It was a racing game with Kirby's simplified control philosophy mixed with the action of the other racing series. All you have to worry about are steering, pressing the A button at opportune times, and just owning the race. It's enough to warrant a challenge, but not enough to deter new players. Though, as fun as its core gameplay was, we have to be honest, we lost countless hours to the insanely fun city trial mode. Yeah, the critics certainly underplayed how much fun this game really was. Pikmin II. Even though the first game will always hold a special place in our hearts, Pikmin II is without a doubt the best in the franchise. Having discovered that random pieces of junk are actually worth money, Olimar is sent back to the distant planet alongside Louis to recover more foreign objects and help their boss climb out of debt. Yes, you are back where you were in the first game, squatting up with legions of Pikmin and trying to recover treasures. Only, there's a new wrench thrown in your journey, Louis. Pikmin 2 bumps up the difficulty by giving you 2 teams of Pikmin to manage. Yeah, it's a lot harder than it sounds, and the co-op mode is just as fun to play. Animal Crossing. We never anticipated a game so cute and charming to evolve into one of Nintendo's most influential and innovative franchises in the last couple of decades. Animal Crossing threw players into a new village inhabited by adorable animals and a greedy as heck Tanuki. From there, we lived a second life, where all that mattered was digging up fossils, gathering fruit, fishing, and decorating our awesome island homes. The way it integrated the GameCube's internal clock into in-game events made for a package with a seemingly endless supply of secrets. So when someone asks why folks are obsessed with Animal Crossing, just point them to this game. A few hours will suck them right in. FZero GX. It seems that no matter how much his time has passed, FZero GX refuses to show a wrinkle, and it's splendid to revisit all these many years later. This was F-Zero at its finest, anti-gravity racing with vehicles blasting beyond the sound barrier as Nintendo's most rocking soundtrack blares in our ears. This was hardcore racing with mind-bending tracks and a touch of vehicular mayhem, and it's the reason why so many folks have been begging and begging Nintendo for a new entry decades later. Come on guys, at least do a port of this one, we'd love to see it. Resident Evil 4.
According to our intelligence, there's reliable information about a sighting of a girl that looks very similar to the president's daughter. Apparently, she's being withheld by some unidentified group of people.
While you can play this treasured game on just about any platform anywhere today, it originally launched as a GameCube exclusive, so yeah, it counts here. Anyways, what is there to say about Resident Evil 4 that hasn't honestly already been said? It's absolutely the best game in the series, and you can see why. Fantastic visuals, terrifying enemies, brilliant level design, satisfying gunplay, and the campy dialogue that we've come to expect from Capcom's famed horror franchise. It all blends together into a game that almost everyone needs to play for themselves at least once.
What, are you supposed to be a cop or something? Nah, you don't look the type.
Maybe.
Super Mario Sunshine. Now, we'll be the first to admit that Sunshine has its own problems to be sure, particularly in the finicky controls. However, it excels in so many other great ways. First off, the flood mechanic grants a new way to combat enemies and traverse areas. As for the areas themselves, each one is crafted in unique ways while still fitting the game's theme of tropical island resort. From Bianco Hills to Rico Harbor, it's almost impossible to forget about any location. Couple this with the spectacular music, and you have yet another 3D Mario game worthy of being called one of the greats. It's Metroid Prime. It's rare to see a franchise manage to reinvent itself the same way Metroid did back in 2002. Before then, we had only seen Samus and her foes on a two-dimensional plane. Prime not only brought the franchise into the 3D landscape, it did so with flying colors. It was the same core experience of exploring areas for secrets, yet it felt like an entirely new game with its breathtakingly morbid environments and frenetic combat. This was Metroid fully realized for a new generation that would carry on into the Wii era, and it's been away for far too long. Please, Prime 4, please hurry, we want to play so bad. Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door. This would be the final time we'd see Paper Mario as we knew it after the N64 original, and goodness gracious was it a stellar adventure all around. Sure, the gameplay hadn't changed much between then and now, but that's not why you play turn-based RPGs. The ThousandYear Door holds a special place in people's heart because of its story, its colorful characters with their own arcs, and the wondrous locations visited throughout. There's a lot to love here, except those darn paper airplane segments, those are really tough. And it's precisely the reason why Paper Mario has become such a contentious yet beloved franchise today. Luigis Mansion.
Oh, yeah.
Honestly, if we were to choose which Mario brother had stolen much of the spotlight during the GameCube days, we'd pick Luigi. Luigi's Mansion was practically a required title for GameCube owners, and rightfully so. The control scheme offered a unique playstyle we hadn't really encountered in games prior, and the expansive mansion held so many secrets to find that we needed to do multiple playthroughs. With its goofy humor, clever level and boss designs, and challenging puzzles, Luigi's Mansion showed the world that the younger bro could provide a game just as amazing as Mario. Mario Kart Double Dash. After the exceptional display put on by Mario Kart 64, we weren't expecting to see our beloved kart racing series take such a drastic turn in gameplay. Double Dash was the chaotic energy of its predecessors cranked up to 11, and it worked out extremely well. Veterans practically had to relearn Mario Kart with the new addition of interchangeable karts, special items, and character switching. It wasn't enough to know which corners to drift around, now you needed to know which characters were right for the job. It's this level of depth that has caused so many players to scream for a sequel to this game. Hey, the Switch hasn't had its own true Mario Kart yet, so there's hope. The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker. It's astonishing to think that way back in the day when Wind Waker was still in development, folks were appalled by the art style. Much to the chagrin of skeptics, Wind Waker would prove to be one of the timeless classics in the Zelda franchise. From its cel-shaded art style to its charming character design, this was an adventure for every gamer, regardless if they were a Nintendo fan or not. Everything was just brimming and overflowing with personality, and sailing brought about a creative spin of traversing the world. It's almost still hard to believe that such a sharp change in visuals would spawn a whole new style of Zelda games years later. In Super Smash Bros. Melee. 26 playable fighters, 300 trophies to collect, 51 challenges to conquer, an expansive and epic adventure mode, the introduction of special rules, home run contests. These were all great factors in what allowed Melee to define the GameCube era. Smash Bros. Had upped its game by gearing up the speed, throwing in new techniques, and serving up a plethora of modes, making Melee insanely replayable. One simply cannot ignore the influence on indie fighters and the hype this game has brought, and it's for all these reasons why we crown Super Smash Bros. Melee as the greatest GameCube game of all time.
Check out these other great clips from MojoPlays, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos.